Alright, welcome home racing fans. Well, I'm kind of doing things backwards here. The video I had about my initial impressions for somehow it just didn't save. So we're going to go through it after I've tuned the cars. First of all, we'll start right here with the Monte Shell Jolly Club car. This shell car to me is just beautiful. The markings, crisp, clean. I expected nothing less from REVOSLOT. They set the standard as far as I'm concerned with fit and finish these days. And I just have to say, this car here, I just love this livery. It just pops to me. Now the Marlboro one, I have to say, not so much for my eyes. Has nothing to do with the advertising. It's the red here is just too fluorescent to my eyes. It's just not really the proper shade for the car. Anybody looking up the prototype will tell you, should be able to see that. And in the photos, it's just yeah, it's it's on fire. It's just too much to me. But you know, to each their own, right? Some of you like that, and that's great. It doesn't bother me really. I'm still glad that I purchased the car. As far as the Ferrari thing goes, we've talked about that before. Everybody knows. Look inside the case, underneath your lid there, and you'll see that they've included the Ferrari logos for each car, even for the glass up top here on the Marlboro car. You've seen John and other folks post it. So don't get so excited about the absence of the logos if that really means that much to you. REVOSLOT, you know, cared enough to put them inside the cases for you to add them to the car. So really, they get a tip of the hat from me. Anyway, that's my opinion on the outside. I think these cars are beautiful cars. Not everybody likes this era, but I certainly do. And they just make some great looking slot cars. At least they do to me. Anyhow, let's move on. All right, just going through recording everything. As you know, we just take the good old Mr. Mitutoyo, my favorite caliper. We just do some measurement here and there, give you all this data, just writing it down. I'll publish that chart here in just a second. You're going to need the special tools, as we've talked about before. Number one, I'd say, is your 1.5 hex. You're going to need that for all the set screws for the wheels and the gear, so don't forget that, and for the guide. Then you're going to need a standard Phillips, because, yes, here for the chassis, for the float screws right here, and the nuts, you're going to need the cross tip, the Phillips, and finally 5mm. You're going to need a good wrench for that for the other side. I like my Craftsman, but you really don't need anything this big for something like that. Anyhow, I'll post all the data. Hope it helps you. But finally, I just want to remind you that a lot of this information, there's just great data, you know, on this card that's included in the car. So check the box, look inside there. This is priceless information. Not everybody does this, so don't take it for granted. REVOSLOT, they kind of lead the way. So not only is the packaging, the box, a lot of people you know, don't like it because it covers up the car. It isn't really for display purposes that much, but it's what inside that matters most, right? And I really like this, and so do a lot of enthusiasts, giving you all the part numbers in case you need to order those spares. Anyhow, I'll go ahead and we'll post this data and we'll get on with it. When it comes to setting the gear mesh here, an important thing you might want to do is use some Loctite or adhesive on these screws here so they don't come loose, because they're kind of notorious for doing that if you don't get them good and tight, right? So what I like to do is I have a little bit of just the blue Permatex. You can use that, or just some good old-fashioned clear nail polish. But what you want is you want something that's slow curing. Don't use super glue. I know I've seen people talk about that, but you have to give yourself time to set the gear mesh. So I just don't think super glue is the right choice of adhesive in this application. So I just like a little bit of this. You can put it on a popsicle stick, nice and easy. just like that. Just roll your screw in there. Just a little bit. Again, a little bit goes a long way. Then once you have your gear mesh set, then you can go through and just install it just like that. And believe it or not, they are easy enough to get out, just a little bit of pressure. There you go. But really, this comes in handy. So if you don't have this on hand, maybe you have a little bit of the nail polish there, the wife, girlfriend, etc. Steal a little bit of that. It'll work in a pinch. So we'll talk about adding some of the Loctite or adhesive to the other screws on the chassis. For example, your bulkhead screws here, right? And also your chassis float screws right here, and the nuts as well. Now, I can tell you that you should discover when you remove these screws that they are very tight fitting, because they already have some Loctite, okay, on these screws from the factory already. You can just see the residue there. You should be able to see that. But we know that some enthusiasts, when they check the alignment of the rear axle, they loosen these up, right? And you loosen all those up, and you check and make sure that the bearings are aligned properly with no binding, nice freedom of movement, and we do so front and back. So you're going to break those free. A lot of people like to add the Loctite back. So again, once you do that, you just need a little bit, as I've shown here. Just a little bit goes a long way. Just a drop right there and right back in. And we are good to go. There we go. And as far as the residue goes, just a paper towel, rag, Q-tip, anything else, just to wipe away the excess that will come out, especially if you overdo it a little. As far as your float right here, the brass nuts or the chassis float, you can just take some of the clear nail polish and you can just take a drop and just put it right here on the tops. Okay, it'll kind of flow down in there, and when it's dry, it'll make sure that they don't loosen. But if you tighten these properly, you shouldn't have that issue. But just thought I'd cover it because some folks have asked. And you've all seen this before, talking about setting the gear mesh. One thing I want to highlight though is check the pinion, okay, and make sure that you have 100% mesh and face contact between the pinion and the spur gear. Sometimes the pinion is pushed on too far, okay, or it's brought out too far, and then it might be rubbing on the inside of the tire in some cases where you have those clearance issues. But normally with the REVOSLOT, I've noticed that sometimes the pinion is just pressed on a little bit too far and you're not getting 100% surface between the gears. So make sure that you have that lined up before you start making your adjustment. Anyhow, we've got those loosened up a little bit. Now we can just take, that's right, good old piece of paper. This is actually just a post-it note, piece of post-it note that I've sliced up, and we're going to put it in here. And you know the deal. We are going to just put that in there and bring it in there just like that. And then we're going to hold the motor against there, give it that pressure. Let it work its magic. Now, we'll just tighten that up. There we go. And there we go. Oh yeah, looking good. Take that out. Oh yeah, perfect. Yep. That's feeling really good. And if you don't get it right the first time, you guessed it, just do it again till you get that sweet spot. All right, let's keep going. As far as break-in paste goes, everybody has their own techniques, what is best, this and that. I can tell you that just as long as you have some abrasive in your break-in paste is really the most important thing. Just old-fashioned way, some graphite lubricant here and combine it with some white lithium grease. I've just mixed it together here in this container, and that's all you need. Now, before you start your break-in, make sure that you're lubricated. So go ahead and give a light drop of oil here on these bearings, because you do have to lubricate them, and just a very small drop on each end of the motor, making sure it's good to go. As far as the break-in paste goes, again, a little goes a long way, guys. I just take just a little bit here on a toothpick and just a very light coat, just to where you can see it. You don't have to gob it on there. That's not going to really do anything. So, except make a bigger mess, which I'm pretty good at anyway. So there, it's just a little bit. So you've got your gear mesh adjusted the way you want. You've lubricated everything, and now just a light coat. Turn this on. I'm going to run right here at 6 volts. You know what? 15-20 minutes, and you will start to you'll start to hear things smooth out just a little bit. And again, these gears, the soft brass and the pinion, you know, mated with these spare gears, that's what this is all about, is meshing them, get it, together, and just making a smoother car. And we've shown this before, these inexpensive 5-amp power supplies. You can get them all over Amazon. They're just perfect for this. You can hook them up to a track section or a setup block, any way you want, but it's just ideal to have this adjustable voltage. So give those things a look if you haven't already. If you're looking for a deeper guide option, look no further than inside the case. Inside that little Ziploc bag, the RS210W, the 9mm depth guide, it just works great. I almost exclusively change every car to this, so you might as well just use it. It's right there, and again, it's just part of the value of the brand. If you want to try some aftermarket, you can try some of the Slot Invasion. I really like these. They're very strong, durable. The post fitment to the chassis is really good, and I like the blade thickness right around 2 1/4. Adds some really good stability. So if you're going to swap these out from stock, give that a try. Okay, most of you already know we've talked about the rubber post covers right here on the cars, and that you can get them again in different sizes, different thicknesses. So for example, here in your data sheet, again, this very valuable little sheet tells you the part numbers here. 013R, that's the standard size, and then you can go 0.5mm, 1.5, etc. I find that the size that the car comes with most always works for me, but you can order these if you want to. But aside from the height, the difference in the thicknesses of these covers, there's something else I think that's sort of important, and that is the way you tighten and adjust these screws here in relation to the chassis. So, for example, the design of this is so that these are loosened a little bit, and that the chassis can just slide in like this, okay, just like that, and then spread the body apart and put it back together. Okay, sometimes I've noticed where these can be too tight. You don't want to compress these screws down and add excess pressure between this chassis plate and the rubber cover. That's not doing you any good at all. So what you want to do is you want to loosen these screws up a little bit, and what I like to do is test fitting, is just to see the chassis slide right in there, just like that. Nice and easy, with no binding on both sides. That's just the way I like to do it. Now, some folks have talked about the screws might be coming loose during combat and hard racing, and I suppose that's true. The rubber covers are designed that the hole in the rubber is smaller than the screw, and the friction of the rubber holds on to the screw and prevents it from backing out. But again, some people like to go the extra mile, making sure that doesn't happen. You can add tape to the bottom, or you could try this. So basically, you know, you're going to reset the height to where you want, so you can have that chassis going in and out of there easily, right? But you can remove this rubber cover. Okay, just remove that, just like that. Okay, and now you can take a little bit of silicone, like E6000, right? And you can just take the smallest amount and put it here on your toothpick, and I mean a small amount, and you can go right in the threads with your toothpick and just put your silicone there. Again, not super glue. You need something that's going to give you time to work. Now, you can reinstall your cover, right? And you have plenty of time, because you're going to drop it like I do. You'll have plenty of time to reinstall your screw. Okay, and now you can go back and you can set that height that we talked about. You don't want to go too far, right? So you have that time, so just back it off here a little bit. Okay, you don't want it too loose, not too tight, you know the deal. There, look at that, just dropping in. It's exactly what I want, right? So now you've got a little silicone in that, and when it dries, it'll help keep that screw nice and secure. It's not needed, really. I've done it on a few cars, but you know, I've never had an issue with the screws backing out. But again, some folks have. Anyhow, E6000, it's a good strong silicone, but if you have to, you can use a little bit of extra pressure and you can break those free. All right, here we go again. That's right, it's tire talk time. And we're going to do something just a little bit different. But first, we're going to go right back to, you better believe it, our reference sheet. This thing, again, priceless. Over here on the left-hand side, you're going to see some part numbers here for manufacturer tires that are soft, the new G25 and the Super Grip. Both those compounds are really popular with a lot of racers out there. So if you want to keep the factory brand, the REVOSLOT brand tires on your car, if the rules that you have say so, then you have options there as well. As far as aftermarket options, if you like silicone, I like the Quick Slicks TS44. They just fit the wheel just so cleanly. So if you like silicone, you got to give those a try. And as far as your thing goes, you know, you got it. Paul Gage, the 2012-5 LMDFs with the solid center, these are the best fitment to me. And then after they're installed, again, you turn them down, you true them up, you can reduce that diameter a little bit and get that sweet spot. And I actually like the XPG compound on these cars other than the standard. But again, always test for your own track conditions. Now, when it comes to these aftermarket tires, even the REVOSLOT, there's something that I want you to notice, and I'm sure that you do, when you install these tires. I want you to inspect them, okay, after you put them on. Okay, for example, this is an example of the new hard lowered front. So if you go to your reference sheet again, RS 201, hard lowered front. You can tell the size difference, okay, between the stock and the new one here, right? The other one is right around 1990, almost 20 millimeter in diameter and slightly wider. The 201 is right at around 1950 millimeter. So just a little bit lower diameter, and that's fine, okay? But I want you to notice, I'm going to turn this. You see that little bump right there? Over here? You can just see it as it goes around right there at the top. See that? I know you do. You can see it. Why is that? Well, I'll show you. Because when you take the tires out of the bag, a lot of them have right there a little bit of sprue from where they're pulled from the mold. Okay, so turn these things inside out. Okay, and most times you can just take your finger and get those things off there nice and clean, just like that. Okay, there you go, just like that. Now you can install, you can use a sprue cutter, you can use an X-Acto blade to clean that off, but a lot of times I can just get it completely flush like that. Now you can install this on the wheel and you can get rid of that. So I just installed this one with that in the way, just to show you how important it is to make sure that you check this and get rid of it. Look at that. Just one little pull, nice and flush. Good to go. So just a little tip, if you're going to use some of the REVOSLOT tires, just be aware of that before you install. So experimenting with both tires, the 201s and the 201M, the stock tires, you don't have to sand them very far. So just a little bit to get past the mold line. All we're doing, you know, is just making sure they're concentric and they're ready to race. Now, you can see here, there, just a little bit of the facing of the tire. That's all we've done. And this is the stock. And we'll bring it down right about there. So, taking about a little less than half a mil off of there. But again, we don't have to go very far. Just making sure they're true. I'm going with urethane tires for both of these cars, and Paul Gage, the XPG compound 2012-5 LMDF, as we showed, that's what I'm going to use on this car, but not on the second car. I don't know if you knew or not. I'm going to share it with you. Slot Invasion, they make some great urethane tires as well, and they fit really well. Just the way that he has the sidewalls and the mold done, they just slip right on here. Just nice and easy. And the fitment between the flanges is just spot on, right? Just couldn't ask for any better. So I'm going to use a little Sally Hansen, just what I like to use. You could use hairspray, any adhesive you want, but I'm going to give the wheel a coat. I'm going to install the other tire on here, and then we'll take it over to the tour on the old machine, and we'll take care of it. You don't need a whole lot. You guys know that. Don't need a whole lot. Just a little bit. There we go. And then I usually let it dry for, I don't know, 20 minutes, something like that. And again, it's just a good base adhesive. It holds really well, but when it comes time to change tires, you know, easy to peel off. So you can see the sides again like that, and the shiny side that goes to the inside there. Pull it off of the mold, and yeah, that right there, boy, that looks really good. We'll give these a roll. There we go. All right, good to go. So as you can see here with the Paul Gage, I've already trued them, and again, the fitment of Paul Gage, you know, equally impressive. I really like them. Now we'll take these off. We'll give them a quick true, and then back on the car, we'll see how they go. And one last addition, just a little tape across the bottom here for a dampening effect. You don't have to do this, just experiment. I like the Gorilla duct tape, but again, you could use any or none at all. Here I've written down what tires I've used on the fronts. So 201 hard, and these are the 201Ms that come in the box. This one has the Slot Invasion Guide edition. This one here has the deep wood that came in the box. And then finally, I've written down Paul Gage for this car, Slot Invasion for this car, and the date. And of course the weight, 75.7, 75.6. Yeah, let's call those even. Anyway, let's button them up and get them out there. We're going to have some fun. You know, just the XPGs and just a little bit of the break-in, you know. But it's one of the smoothest. No, I did a little bit of tuning, but I think it's one of the smoothest ones I have now.
Yeah, that thing runs slick.
So the quick initial reactions from Mark and Dennis coming down here to visit, but the results are pretty pleasing to me. Lap times 3.545 fast lap, 3.585 between Slot Invasion tires, and 3.545 for Paul Gage. So let's call that pretty even too. All right. So car is just nice and smooth, nice and quiet. Dampening effect and some tape. Just going through a little bit. Nice and quiet. No rattle traps, as some folks have called them. Just takes a little bit, but that's what these cars are for. They're for you, the enthusiast. These are what I would consider enthusiast grade, and pretty much the leaders in our hobby, that sooner or later others are just going to start following their lead, copying what they do, because these cars just look so good, run so good, a little bit of effort. They just have value when you look at the price points of the enthusiast grade level cars. Slot-it, NSR, Scale Auto, Thunderslot, REVOSLOT, $80 to $90 range of cars, Power Car. These are well worth the investment, and you get more than just one. And you can see here that I've even bought the old one out that I've had for quite a while. Just picked up the one. And it's still smooth. It has the stock tires on it, rubbered in. A little bit of chatter, but not bad. That's why I kind of like to gauge the urethane, slot and basin. Nothing against stock tires. You get some cleaning on them and some truing, and they hook up great out here as well. But yeah, great little cars, just fun, smooth, and fun. You know? That's the name of the game, right? Anyway, I'll do a quick summary, but there you go. Well, there you are. Yeah, we spent some time with them, but ever since they got here, I didn't spend that much time with the one in the background, just a little bit. But these two, I don't know, I just had to keep going and going with them, and just a blast. And you bet, they're well worth the price of admission. Like I said, enthusiast grade. Just great cars, and all they really need is a good owner, and that's you. To get a hold of them, and to tune them, to wring them out, just milk them for all they're worth. That's they're just inviting you to do that. That's what they were designed to do. So again, if you haven't discovered REVOSLOT yet, start right here. Okay, you won't be sorry. And for you veterans, well, you know the deal. Just great cars. Anyhow, always look forward to your feedback. Kind of a long one, but I just had to do it. It was fun. Anyhow, look forward to hearing you guys online. We'll see you there.